Sage Wonder here, and welcome to Coffee Talk. So, I'd like to preface this Coffee Talk. We're talking about a thing known as Trump derangement syndrome today. And I'd like to preface this Coffee Talk by saying that I'm not trying to be political in this. I really am after the core. I'm on a search for the cause of this behavior. Now, many of you who may be Trump haters, who fall onto this video, may think I'm trying to be political or I'm trying to insult you. I'm really not. I'm genuinely, absolutely, humanly perplexed by the behavior of members on the left. And this goes back to my departure from the left, my hashtag walk away video, because, I was a musician. My best friend was a lesbian. I hung out at gay bars with her and, partied with these people. I knew many of them very well. I thought highly of several members of their community and people that I'd met. I'm pro-pot. I'm pro-gay marriage. And, I'm pro-legalization of marijuana. So I'm kind of a lefty to some degree, except I come from a Christian background. I respect Christians. I respect God. I respect what's left of the church to a certain degree. I respect the government. I'm a patriot, a patriotic person. I believe in the Second Amendment. So this is who I am when all of this goes down. And I had to run away screaming. Because unless I was willing to engage in this weird emotional outburst, this weird childlike hatred of Donald Trump, if I didn't participate in that with them, I was one of them, and they would hate on me. I didn't even have to disagree with them. If I didn't participate, I was being ostracized. I fled. I fled from my group of friends and isolated myself and started this channel. And, that was a little more than a year and a half ago that I started the channel. But Trump derangement syndrome became evident to me right after the election, and especially right around the time of the inauguration. And it's just gotten worse and worse since then. So I'm trying to figure out what this is, because it does not look like normal political opinions. People agreed to disagree before all of this. People weren't... There's a desperateness. There's a raw emotional hatred that erupts in these people, and it's like emotional vomiting that just comes up from their gut. I don't understand it. I lost so many friends. What's wrong with you people? I'm not going to join you because you can't fake something like that. You can't fake that kind of ridiculous, zombie behavior. The thing about Brett Kavanaugh, these people scratching on the door, they look like zombies trying to claw through the giant doors to get in to the Supreme Court and stop the Kavanaugh swearing in. But they really didn't want to stop it, because if they did, they would have went and got some tools. They would have went and got a come along, and hooked it on the doors and pulled them off, or they would have got crowbars and pried them open, or they would have got a chainsaw and cut the door in half and come in. So they weren't really, if they were really that emotional and really wanted to get into the building, they would have drove their car through the gates. But they didn't do any of that. They just flung their frail bodies against wooden doors and clawed at them till they got wood chips under their fingernails. How is that logical? How is that normal? How can you even explain that behavior? They look like zombies. What is wrong with them? If you talk to them, they can seem perfectly normal. They can go about their regular business. It may be somebody that Trump derangement sufferers are pouring your coffee at Starbucks. They're checking out your groceries at Safeway. They're pumping your gas if you live in Oregon. And because Oregon people aren't allowed to pump their own gas. You have to have special training. But anyway, these are normal people until anything political or anything to do with Trump or anything to do with politics is brought up. And then somehow they turn into these animals. I'm not trying to be at all insulting. I'm genuinely concerned. I'm genuinely curious. I am perplexed as to what Trump derangement syndrome really is. What's going on there? I did a video called Trump Derangement Syndrome is Demonic Possession, because that's the closest thing I could come to for an explanation. So if you want that angle, check out that video. Trump derangement syndrome is demonic possession. It actually earned me a 3-second, a 1-sentence statement on CNN. So they showed me on CNN. But what are some other possibilities? It can't be in the food because we all eat the same food. It can't be in the air because we're all breathing the same air. It can't be in the water because we're all drinking the same water. Really, it can't be in the music. We're all listening to the same music. Trump sufferers and Trump derangement syndrome people and people that don't have it. What could be going on here? And I'm led to a thing, and this is why we're in coffee talk here, called the Woodpecker. The Woodpecker was a 4.3 megahertz audible signal broadcast on the FM, I believe on the FM or AM or some kind of radio frequency. Well, it was a broadband. It was across as many as they could get. It was made by Soviet Russians, and their intention was to try to drive us all crazy and make us all sick. And they broadcast this, and honestly, they pointed it at Oregon, specifically pointed it at Eugene. Now, many people think that it was the United States government, but I've followed some other researchers who have provided proof to me that this signal sent in 1977, well, detected in 1977 in Eugene, Oregon, originated from the Woodpecker array. I think they called the Woodpecker because the sound that the 4.3 megahertz repeating signal was. Does that sound familiar? Because when I was a kid, and you turned the dial, and you didn't have a strong radio station, that's what you heard. You heard... Apparently that was a weapon being broadcast from Soviet Russia into the Pacific Northwest, pinpointing in Eugene, Oregon. And it was designed to drive everyone crazy. Some of the symptoms were making people sick, making people dizzy, making people disoriented, making people grumpy, keeping people from sleeping. All kinds of problems associated with this signal that was being beamed into Oregon in the 1970s when I was a little kid and lived here. Although I never lived in Eugene where it was pinpointed. So it made me think about that. Is this some kind of microwave weapon? And that they're broadcasting it, whoever they are, whoever the they is in this scenario, are broadcasting this weapon, and that's what's causing Trump derangement syndrome? Some kind of signal. Something like what happened with the Kingsman movie, where they sent a signal to people's cell phones and they all became homicidal maniacs. Could this be causing this extreme, emotional, childlike, animal-like, zombie-like behavior that caused people to roll around on their bellies and scream and cry like they've been gut shot? That causes people to claw at the doors of the Supreme Court? That causes people to scream obscenities and not be able to explain exactly their point of view about what they're so angry about? And why does it only affect some people? Why can somebody like me, who drank the same Kool-Aid for the most part, many of those did, not get Trump derangement syndrome? Why is that? Some say, well, it's because that I had a close relationship with Jesus most of my life. Maybe that's what makes me immune. If it's demonic possession or demonically origined, then that makes sense. But not if it's mechanical, not if it's a microwave signal, not if it's some kind of device, some kind of a weapon being used against the American people, maybe not even by America, but by some other country like China or Russia. Could that be what's causing? And, it also makes sense that it only is affecting people mainly in large cities. That people live in rural areas aren't as susceptible to it. But that's where the political lines are drawn too. So it's a little bit hazy. I mean, you can see why I'm doing a coffee talk. I have no idea what's causing this, and I'm very curious because this is the strangest, most unusual behavior. It's non-historical. I can't find any reference to anything like this, not even in Nazi Germany. I can't find anything with this kind of mass emotional outcry. Most of this emotional stuff like you saw in Nazi Germany where people were weeping and crying for the Fuhrer, it's because they're trying to get ahead. They're putting on. They're playing a role. They're trying to be politically powerful. They're trying to work their way up. They're trying to get the eye and the attention of the Fuhrer. So that stuff was all fake, really. It was just fake emotion. And I just don't see... This isn't fake. These people, their guts are torn out over this. These Trump derangement people are suffering. I want to help alleviate their suffering. I want to give them some kind of relief and help. And, you know, I'm not willing to draw and quarter the President of the United States for them to make them feel better. So we got to figure out what's wrong with these people. Is it their medication? Are they all on the same medication? We need to have an investigation into Trump derangement syndrome, because I lost friends to this. There's a studio in Portland. I can't even call and talk to the guy, because we were cutting a session while a lot of this was at the very beginning going on. He's one of the first people I saw Trump derangement syndrome in. And it was completely irrational and debilitating and out of nature, out of character for this guy's behavior. So I got to thinking, what makes me different than Trump derangement syndrome sufferers? There's a lot of things, but one thing that sticks out to me, if it's an audible signal, and it's the woodpecker kind of array, and it's broadcasting from, say, Russia or China, then maybe it doesn't affect me, because at 4.3 kilohertz, I have a distinctive hearing loss. I have damage in my hearing from shooting guns and from snare drums from playing rock and roll and country bands, playing country and rock bands. And this notch in my hearing is right where that same frequency was that was being utilized by this woodpecker. They called it a woodpecker array because of the way it sounded. So maybe it's people who shoot guns who have some hearing damage in the 4.3 kilohertz range. And this is not having the effect on our brains because we can't hear it. And so it's people that shot guns, people that had a lot of loud noises, people that work in industrial jobs like driving tractors or working in factories. Could that be it? Is this an audible signal that's triggering these people whose hearing hasn't been blown out by firearms and loud music? It's why it's affecting young people, because their hearing is less damaged. The older you get, the more damaged your hearing gets. If you've ever worked in a cannery, if you've ever worked in a sawmill, if you like running saws and working with wood, drills, all of those things wear out your hearing in that 4.3 kilohertz range. It would affect more the people that are either people that are on government assistance and don't work, or people who are rich and privileged and don't have to work. But those of us who work have destroyed our hearing in the 4.3 gigahertz range, or kilohertz range. Could that be that? And now this sound is not something you audibly are able to tell. It's like almost subliminal. It's so quiet. It's being broadcast at high frequencies, if that makes sense. Audio guys know what I'm talking about. Well, how you broadcast something and the pitch it's at is two different things. So this might be being broadcast, maybe using microwave technology to broadcast this signal, and maybe we can't hear it because we work and we shoot guns and we play music on the weekends real loud. I don't know. It's just another theory. It's why it's on Coffee Talk. Coffee Talk is for theories I find interesting but don't believe in, even if they're mine. So is the Eugene signal, the woodpecker signal, is that what's behind Trump derangement syndrome? Is it microwave warfare? Are we being manipulated by a foreign government? Is our own government manipulating our own people? Or is this just some weird emotional outbreak? There's that much of a difference between us as human beings that they can look so ridiculously demented to the rest of us, but to them it just seems like a regular day out protesting? I don't know. You know, they're taking over Portland. You can't hardly drive down there anymore. Everybody's just having a spastic, massive meltdown on a daily basis. All the black-clad people and pulling over cars and busting your car up with clubs. And it's just a matter of time till somebody gets seriously hurt or killed in some of this stuff. How do we stop it? Maybe we should all go around with earplugs on for a while. At least we couldn't hear each other and we wouldn't argue as much. I'm for earplugs. The solution to Trump derangement syndrome is mass-produced and distributed foam rubber earplugs. And then we don't have to listen to each other. We won't fight. Or if it's a signal, maybe it'll drown it out and we can get our sanity back. What do you think Trump derangement syndrome is? Leave your comments in the comment section. Once again, thanks for enjoying coffee time with me on Coffee Talk.